Cyberpunk 2077 is a beloved video game that many now look back on with excitement and fond memories, and with a fairly high Steam rating now. Praised for its unique setting and amazing narrative with outstanding graphical benchmarks, it still stands as one of the best RPGs ever in my humble opinion. I finally was able to complete the game, and I have a lot to say in today's flashback episode. But before we can talk about Cyberpunk in 2025, we have to talk about its long path to redemption. On December 10th, 2020, Cyberpunk 2077 was released to PlayStation 4, PC, Xbox One, and the late Google Stadia. This was such an anticipated release, as the whole gaming world was eager to see what CD Projekt Red had in store for us with this new IP. Sadly, this release turned into one of the most infamous in video game history. With constant crashing, bad AI, terrible graphics, just overall performance issues across the board, this game was not what the player base had hoped it would be. The game was obviously not finished, and consumers were in a complete revolt over this. Sony even was giving full refunds to players who purchased this product and banned its sale on PS4 for a time. This was heartbreaking to many players because at the time, CD Projekt Red was remembered for Witcher 3. With that game being such a critical success, it was baffling that this was their next release. CD Projekt Red took action and tried to patch the game up as much as they could. They even issued out an apology to the public.
Everyone, my name is Marcin Iwiński and I'm the co-founder of CDPR. When I started CDPR 25 years ago, one of its founding principles was honest and direct communication with gamers. When CDPR Red, the game development part of CDPR, was born, it added something important to that principle, the ambition to make the best games in the world. It became our mission and something that guided us up until now. Based on that legacy of genuine and honest communication, you've trusted us and pre-ordered our game. And despite good reviews on PC, the console version of Cyberpunk 2077 did not meet the quality standard we wanted it to meet. I and the entire leadership team are deeply sorry for this, and this video is me publicly owning up to that. Please don't fault any of our teams for what happened. They all are incredibly talented and hardworking. Myself and the board are the final decision makers, and it was our call to release the game. Although, believe me, we never ever intended for anything like this to happen. I assure you that we'll do our best to regain your trust. Now I'd like to tell you how the situation looked like from the inside. Cyberpunk 2077 is huge in scope. And I'm not only talking about quests or things you see at first glance. I'm talking about a multitude of custom objects, interacting systems, and mechanics. In the game, everything is not stretched out over flat terrain where we can make things less taxing hardware-wise, but condensed in one big city and in a relatively loading-free environment. On its own, this is a challenge, but we made it even more difficult for ourselves by wanting to make the game look epic on PCs and then adjusting it to consoles, especially old gens. That was our core assumption, and things did not look super difficult at first. We knew the hardware gap, yes, but ultimately, I think that time has proven that we've underestimated the task. To give you a concrete example and the main culprit, we had to constantly improve our in-game streaming system for all-gen consoles. Streaming is responsible for feeding the engine with what you see on screen, as well as the game mechanics. And since the city is so packed and the disk bandwidth of all gens is what it is, it constantly challenged us. Every change and improvement needed to be tested, and as it turned out, our testing did not show a big part of the issues you experience while playing the game. As we got closer to the final release, we saw significant improvements each and every day, and we really believed we would deliver in the final Day Zero update. Now let's talk about the review process. We started sending our PC review keys in the first days of December. On launch day, December 10th, we hit the ground running with a really good start on PC. While not perfect, it's a version of Cyberpunk we are very proud of. At the same time, we're fighting for quality on all-gen consoles till the very last moment. And every extra day of us working on the Day Zero update brought visible improvement. This is why we started sending console review keys on the 8th of December, which was later than we originally planned. This all happened while working from home with all the challenges resulting from the COVID-related restrictions. A lot of the dynamics we normally take for granted got lost over video calls or email, and we took that hit too. Now I'd like to tell you about our plans for the future and present a path for Cyberpunk 2077 on consoles and PC. We have already released 3 hotfixes improving the game, but that's just the beginning. Our ultimate goal is to fix the bugs and crashes gamers are experiencing across platforms. Please expect bigger and smaller patches on a regular basis. The first update will be dropping within 10 days, and it will be followed by another, more significant one in the following weeks. We will, of course, continue to work on the game in future updates and improvements beyond that. Our big plans for supporting Cyberpunk in the long term did not change. As for the free DLCs, our initial plan was to deliver them just after the release, much like we did with The Witcher 3. We decided to focus on the most important fixes and updates first, and we'll be releasing the DLCs afterwards. Expect more information in the upcoming months. For those of you playing on next-gen consoles in back compatibility, you can still expect the free next-gen update for Xbox Series consoles and PlayStation 5 arriving in 2021. We are aiming at the second half of the year. I'd like to end this video by assuring you that we treat this entire situation very seriously and are working hard to make it right. The guiding principles of our company are still core to what we do. We still want to make amazing games and have an open communication with you, our players. For now, our immediate focus is to work hard on making sure you enjoy Cyberpunk 2077 regardless of platform. Beyond Cyberpunk, we have many plans for the future, which we'll share more about when we're ready. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video.
Everyone had given up on CDPR because of how much whiplash this bad release has given. I was thoroughly disappointed myself as I was super hyped and excited. I'm glad I didn't pre-order, and this is also why you should never pre-order. This could have and should have been one of the nails into CDPR's coffins, but they were still holding on through life support. Most companies these days, when they release a huge flop, they just cut their losses and move on to the next disappointment. Not CDPR though. They were completely shamed and had to earn back the reputation they used to have. Doing so seemed impossible at the time, but they were determined to do so. CDPR immediately began working on fixing the game. There was some improvement throughout 2021 and 2022 that did make the game a bit more playable, but it wasn't the massive win CDPR needed to win back everyone's good grace. Fast forward to September 13th, 2022, with the release of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. This was an anime that tied directly into the world of the video game, and it was an astounding success. I mean, the show made me cyber cry. It was just so amazing. With the show performing so well, it injected much needed numbers into Cyberpunk 2077 again, with players returning to a game that was actually really stable and executing more on the vision of Cyberpunk 2077 the way it was supposed to be. They even included weapons, clothes, and music from the anime into the game as well. So, 2 years had already passed, and you think CDPR would just be done with the game and call it quits. Nope, they still had more to bring. Let's fast forward again to September 21st, 2023, with patch 2.0. This patch completely overhauled the game and reworked a lot of the cyber implant functions for the better. This patch was done in anticipation for the Phantom Liberty DLC starring Idris Elba. This update and the DLC solidified the game to the vision it was meant to be. The Phantom Liberty DLC was so well received by everyone and still holds a 90% Steam rating and sets the standard to how DLC should be. Instead of adding to the end of the game, the DLC interweaves itself into the main story, and it's a narrative masterpiece that will have you second guessing all the choices you've made and who to trust. Idris Elba brought an Oscar-worthy performance as well, and I'm very impressed with his character in game. CDPR casted all of their characters extremely well. When it comes to V though, I personally prefer female V's character, as I felt she delivered more on her voice lines. Not that male V was a bad performance, I just thought female V just had that little extra passion into her character. It's astounding that Cyberpunk 2077 was able to redeem itself. This game was fated to be just another bookmark in the history of bad video games, but CDPR put so much effort into restoring this game. I have loved every moment of this game, and I believe it to be an absolute masterpiece in gaming. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close now. Now that we covered the bad release to redemption, I want to go over the key parts of the games and what I really enjoyed about the game. Also, while we are at it, this is your first call out. If you're still watching at this point, please consider liking, subscribing if you're enjoying this. Let's move on. Combat in this game is very intuitive and deeper than it seems. Combat reflects entirely on how you build your character. You also need to choose carefully, as you have only one respec the entire game. So after that respec, your build is set in stone. While I understand the purpose of implementing this, I find it rather limiting. I should be able to experiment more in one playthrough, and not be forced to go through multiple playthroughs to experience the different ways of approaching combat. On paper, it makes sense to add more flavor to your story, but in practice, trying to implement the game with only one specific build can be tedious if you end up not enjoying it later. So please, stick with your current build and don't spin that respec unless you're absolutely sure on the build you want. There's multiple ways to approach the game. You can be a brawler focused on utilizing gorilla gloves and leaning heavy into shotguns and light machine guns. It's a fun build to play if you want to be nigh unstoppable. There's also the agile Blade Master build, where you can choose between a samurai katana build or the cyber psycho San Deviston with mantis blades build. Or you can be simple with a focus on assault rifles and grenades. That's still totally viable. But the coolest build, in my opinion, is the Netrunner build. Netrunning is such a cool aspect of the game. I feel like Mr. Robot with my sheer prowess in being able to hack everything around me. This is extremely important on very hard, where you need to properly case the joint to see what the enemy has, what weapons, are there enemy netrunners, do they have any cyber implants, where can I sneak up on the enemies. Playing on very hard and being a stealthy netrunner makes you feel like a secret agent, and it feels like this is the way to play the game. It's like a futuristic Dishonored, especially if I'm discovered. Even with having really good cyber implants, I can get absolutely melted in a couple shots. So it's imperative I neutralize all targets before I'm discovered and never give the enemy a chance to breathe. It's so good and rewarding, and made me just love going around helping the NCPD with all the gangs just so I could test out all my hacks and cyberware. As you level and complete missions and gigs, you earn both attribute and perk points. Attribute points level 5 different attributes. Body increases health and focuses into shotguns, light machine guns, clubs, and fisticuffs. It's always good to have some body to make sure you can endure enemy gunfire, especially on very hard. Reflex increases your crit chance. It focuses on katanas, mantis blades, submachine guns, and assault rifle playstyles. Tech increases your armor and helps your cyberware become even stronger and be able to use health and grenade items more often and make them stronger as well. Cool focuses on critical damage and being stealthy, or a sniper or gunslinger playthrough. So if you want to play Red Dead Redemption 2077, this is the way to go. Intellect affects your netrunning skills, and in my opinion is the strongest tree in the game, because netrunning is the strongest in the game, in my opinion. Also, as you use certain weapons and abilities, you will level up your skill progression. Headhunter helps you with cool related items like stealth, pistols, and snipers, and levels up doing stuff like this. Netrunner levels up from netrunning and further improves the skills as well. Shinobi is reflex focused, Solo is body focused, and Engineer is tech focused. There's so much to improve your playstyle, and it all feels very rewarding as you play. The cyber implant system pushes your limits even further. You have implants across your entire body, and each section is very specific on what it improves. There's also attributes attuned to cyberware that further improves your playstyle you like. Like for example, I use cool and intellect, so that's what I look for in implants. As you level up though, cyberware does get exponentially more expensive, so make sure you're making enough eddies to get the chrome you need. If you're netrunning, make sure to check in with the netrunning vendor and get the latest demons to infect your enemies with. These grow in power as you level, and you can combo quick hacks to do tremendous damage or cripple your opponents. Netrunning just adds so many possibilities to each engagement, and whether your build is focused on it or not, netrunning is just too good to miss out on. For example, I was fighting a cyber psycho, and this cyber psycho would have one-shot me on very hard, but I had the just right hack to make sure they were immobile and couldn't catch up to me. For a game that's more story and narrative focused, they did not skimp out on the combat, and I love trying all these playstyles. I still wish you could respec more than once, but I respect their decision, and I understand why they implement it so you can be forced to play different playthroughs and do different things for your story. Which is a perfect segue to discuss the story of Cyberpunk 2077. If you haven't finished the story yet, this is your spoiler warning for it. This is also your second call out. If you're enjoying the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Let's move on. Cyberpunk 2077 is a masterpiece of a narrative, with critical choices throughout the entire story. There's also 3 separate life paths with unique starts to the game that add a lot of history to your character and unique choice in dialogue. It doesn't change a lot in the game, but certainly adds a lot of flavor to the story and gives V a whole history and perspective on life in Night City. From a nomad who is a fish out of water in the big city, the street kid who was raised in the ghetto and wants nothing more to be a Night City legend, to a corpo who has fallen from grace and will do whatever it takes to climb her way to the top, by any means necessary. I really enjoyed life paths, and more games need mechanics like this that add more flavor to your story. I finished the story as a street kid, as I felt street kid applied the best to the story, followed by corpo, then nomad. I know that statement will rile up a bunch of you, as nomad is so beloved, which I agree, nomad is really good. I just prefer the other ones, but they're all extremely close. None of them are weak in the flavor they add. The main story has you, V, work various gigs trying to make a name for yourself, to become a legend in Night City, or just working to pay the bills. You get offered a job of a lifetime, which involves you stealing a specialized biochip from a corporation called Arasaka. The job goes horribly wrong, and you lose your best friend Jackie, and you're also flatlined as well. Your reputation is also shattered, as you're scapegoated for the death of the Arasaka head, Saburo Arasaka, who was murdered by his son, Yorinobu. The biochip miraculously brings you back from the dead, but the construct, which is the digitized soul of someone, is overriding your neural pathways and slowly taking you over. Your struggle with this construct, Johnny Silverhand, is played out so well throughout the story, as both of your memories blend together, and it's hard to determine what choice are truly yours or Johnny's influence. Keanu Reeves does an amazing job voice acting Johnny Silverhand, and I just can't see anyone else ever playing Johnny Silverhand.
I saw a corpse strip farmers of water, and eventually of land. Saw them transform Night City into a machine fueled by people's crushed spirits, broken dreams, and emptied pockets. Corps have long controlled our lives, taken lots, and now they're after our souls.
Might be right. Can't really argue with you there.
V, I've declared war not because capitalism's a thorn in my side or out of nostalgia for an America gone by. This war's a people's war against a system that spiraled out of our control. It's a war against the fucking forces of entropy. Understand? Do whatever it takes to stop them, defeat them, gut them. If I gotta kill, I'll kill. If I need your body, I'll fucking take it. Fucking hell.
He displays the egotistical narcissism of Johnny so well, but Johnny can also be vulnerable and idealistic as you get to know him. Is he telling the truth? It's hard to say, as Johnny believes every word he says, bullshit or no. He represents the pure anger and hatred toward the hyper-capitalistic society the world of Cyberpunk has turned into. When he speaks, you hang on every word, and you're slowly becoming very sympathetic to his cause. He may be an asshole, but there's so many times he is right, and I can't help but fall in love with this character, as his charisma is just too strong. He is a man of focus and sheer will, and will do whatever it takes to accomplish his task. But he becomes very sympathetic to V, and grows close to you, and learns to toss his ego aside, to do what's right for V, and to trust in you. There's so many times he could have just taken control and forced his will on you, but he gives you a chance, and learns to finally trust in someone, and just maybe, actually love somebody more than himself. His growth in this game is so beautiful, and man, another Golden Globe worthy performance here. Johnny Silverhand is one of a kind, and his story being bound with yours is so damn good, and I was impressed every step of the way. The man even has his own theme song. Like, how can someone have so much aura? This song, to this day, is used whenever we have anti-capitalistic critiques, or joke about Blackrock Tower being the same as Arasaka Tower. If you're not listening to the Rebel Path cello version, right now, the corporals have flatlined the audio, and this gonk had to replace it with some other tunes. My apologies. Your frantic search to find a way for this construct takeover to not kill you has you rampage across all of Night City, desperate to find someone that can cure you. At every turn you are backstabbed, played, such is the nature of Night City. You're hopeless in finding a cure, and your only hope is to rely on an AI of Alt Cunningham that promises you that she can fix you, if you take her to the bottom of Arasaka Tower. You're also not completely treated like trash by everyone as you develop relationships with people like Judy Alvarez or Panam Palmer. Judy you can only be friends with unless you're female, and Panam, well, goes both ways. I prefer Panam personally. Panam and the nomads she's with represent something in this game. Throughout all the backstabbing and senseless chase of becoming a Night City legend, even at the cost of your life and soul, Panam represents a chance to be loved, a chance for a family, to leave this life of murder, stealing, and conning behind, to live out what little time you have left as somebody to people, a life where being a legend doesn't matter, but you matter to people. All your choices and relationships with those you meet along the way matter throughout the story, all the way to the end, where you're faced with a heavy decision. How will you storm Arasaka Tower? You can go Hanako Arasaka's route to expose your Nobu, but it wouldn't bring an end to Arasaka. Say hello to the new boss, same as the old one, and the cycle repeats itself. You can ask Panam and the Nomads to help you storm the tower, but at great risk to the family you made. You can ask for Rogue's help to storm the tower to settle her beef with Adam Smasher, but also at the cost of risking her life as well. All these choices bring great risk to others, or just repeat the cycle again and again. There's also an option to off yourself and just take matters into your own hands. But there is a fifth option, and the right option. If you complete most of the game and do all of Johnny's related quests, you unlock the Don't Fear the Reaper ending, which has you and Johnny storm Arasaka Tower by yourself, risking no one's lives. Because you're better than all of them, V. Remember that. I personally think this is the best ending, as you risk no one's lives and you can still bring down Arasaka and send a message to the Corp world. Regardless of your choice, the world keeps on spinning. It's a more personalized story and isn't a world-ending catastrophe like most story-based games. And that's one thing I appreciate in this world and how it moves on without you. And let's talk about this world. Also, this is your third call out. If you stayed this long, please hit the like and subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. Night City exemplifies everything wrong with this world. The world of Cyberpunk is hyper-commercialized and capitalistic, obsessed with Eurodollars, sex, and power. Not too dissimilar to our world, but a lot more soulless. The meek are abused by those with the eddies and power to do so. And it's all about making a name for yourself, so you're the one doing the abusing, not the one being abused. Faith, love, and kindness is mostly lost in this world, and no one associates with you unless they have something to personally gain from you. With the cyberpunk theme in this world, rogue AIs are constantly fought off from tearing through what's called the Black Wall that protects society from their onslaught. Corporate wars constantly rage off and on at the cost of millions of deaths and the suffering of billions. It's a brutal dystopian world, but yet we are just completely enthralled and entrenched in this world. I'm fascinated with everything about it. The hyper-stylized colors and the art of it, the lingo you learn along the way like eddies, gonk, preem, etc. Biz, this world feels completely alive and lives on without you. Lots of RPGs have the world reflect completely around you, but you're just one person out of billions here. Your choices have a massive effect on your immediate story and its consequences, but the world goes on, and you're but a cog in this massive, unchecked corporate society. I hope they release many more Cyberpunks with great day one releases with more and more DLC. I want and I crave more of this world, like I gotta have it. I want more series like Edgerunners to learn more about this world as well. And the music. The music is absolutely amazing and matches the theme so well. I hope I can actually show you the music in this video, but I have a bad feeling it's going to get copyrighted, and I don't want to risk that, y'all. I'm listening to the soundtrack as I'm typing the script up right now, and it just hypes me up so much to go play the game. Cyberpunk 2077 is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I recommend that everyone does at least one playthrough, especially with the Phantom Liberty DLC. CDPR has completely redeemed themselves on this title, and I'm so happy they didn't give up on fixing this game. It's so beautifully done, and the story is just so brilliant. The music sets the tone so well, and the combat is so fantastic and doesn't get too boring or feel too repetitive. Cyberpunk 2077 was so close to being my very first legendary recommendation status for our channel, but I feel with that piss poor release, it brings it down to highly recommend. I just can't justify the legendary status for bad releases, because then that sets a precedent that I'm okay with bad releases, and I am not. But I am grateful that they fixed this game and turned it into the game it was supposed to be. If this game was like this on release, it would have made it. You need to play this game, Choom. It's preem, and if you got the eddies for it. Great, I'm talking in Cyberpunk lingo now. If you stayed this far, I just want to personally thank you so much. This video took so long to edit, and I am super proud of making it. I want to bring y'all more content like this, and I need your support to do this. I love what I do, and I'm super appreciative of you. Hit all the buttons, come join our Discord, and as always, come be our neighbor.